your business idea, which is InnovateX. How did that come?
So basically, InnovateX started in 2024 and when I got done with my 10th grade, essentially. So he was the tech guy, I was the whole managing and operation person. So what happened during that time is we got our first grant from Germany, which was worth of 5 lakh Indian rupees. So what happened during that time was pretty horrendous because he left with that particular amount of money. He did inside dealings with the grant guy.
But taking entrepreneurship is an unorthodox path. So how did you enter that stage?
For me, it was something I started when I was just like 9 years old.
Hi all, I'm Vivan Vashne. Welcome back to my series Venture with Vivan, where I sit with young builders and achievers in the field of entrepreneurship, finance, education, and tech, and turn their experiences into an actionable lesson for all of us. Today we have with us Anya Villa. She is the founder of InnovateX, and she's the youngest mentor in IIT Bombay Entrepreneurship Cell. And she is also an ex-poda, right? Like me. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
All good. So let's start from the beginning. Let's understand your journey. How did you enter the realm of entrepreneurship? Because ideally, students at that age diversify their time between academics and sports or competitions, Olympiads. But taking entrepreneurship is an unorthodox path. So how did you enter that stage?
Essentially, for me, entrepreneurship was not something that came from my family line. And it was never something that I thought of as a word in separate.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was something I started when I was just like 9 years old. It is a shocker, but it is what, is a fact.
9 years.
Yeah. So I started off by selling stickers, keychains to kids like me. And from there, I kind of developed a passion for, just selling things to people.
Mhm.
And then I discovered that, okay, maybe I like sales. Not from 9 years old, definitely. But yeah, once like I went to higher grades, I did a lot of things, did a lot of projects in particular, worked with a lot of people, did
Mhm.
internships. And from there, I figured out that, okay, maybe I do like sales at a level.
Were there any instances or experience that you remember, like in retrospect, you can recall that reinforced this learning or shaped your inspiration of building your idea into a business in ninth grade or 10th grade? I saw you working in the student council in ninth grade. I remember when I was in eighth. So yes, you had a lot of enthusiasm. So where did that come from, and were there any instances that you can recall?
Yeah. So basically, if you remember, like, as your senior, we had a field trip to Imagica
Yeah.
in ninth grade.
Yes. Yes.
So I'll tell you a very good instance that really shaped me towards sales in particular from ninth grade onwards. So we went to Imagica and, because our school was, sponsoring our whole trip basically.
Yeah.
So we got like free coupons in Imagica
Yeah.
and basically everything was supposed to be sponsored, the food and, whatever expenses that we were going to go ahead with. So I basically didn't get any cash with me. I got like 200 rupees and I spent it all on random games over there. So something in me, just like, it came up like, okay, I want to play more games and I don't even have money to buy water for me now.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, now I'm desperate. I need some money.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, what do I have in my hand? I had a bottle which was empty, and another thing I had was a coupon. So I was like, okay, wait, this coupon literally says that if you buy something for 5,000 rupees from Imagica itself, you get 500 rupees off. And I was like, okay, shit, like I do not have 5,000, that's for sure.
Yeah.
None of my friends have that kind of money over there.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, let's at least see what does Imagica have to offer.
Yeah.
So I went to the Imagica store, broke as hell. And there I saw this one couple, just filling up their trolley with a lot of Imagica stuff and, just like,
Yeah.
okay. And then I saw a price of one thing. It was like 500, 800. I was
Yeah,
like, okay, shit. Like
top.
they are gonna, spend some amount of money. So I went to them and I was like, if you need this coupon because you're gonna, like obviously spend money.
Yeah.
And it's a 500 rupees discount you're gonna get. I'm gonna sell it to you for 300. So you get a 200 rupees discount. So that's where I sold it to them. Basically, it was free money for me.
Yeah.
I got that 300.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I went out and I told my friends, like, guys, I got 300. And then I told them, okay, what you need money? I'll give you 100 each. Just give me your coupons for free. So a lot of my friends gave them to me for free. A lot of them gave me a challenge that, okay, isko, try to sell this for 400 now. I was like, okay, let's do that. So from that particular instance, inside a Magic itself, I earned free money worth of 3,000. So
So you took everybody's coupon.
yeah, I took everybody's coupons because they were not going to spend that, right?
And you took that 3,000.
Yeah.
That's
And then the matter of fact is I spent all those 3,000 in a Magic itself. So then again, that whole mindset things come up. But
Yeah.
I was super proud of myself that, okay, yeah, like at least I was able to sustain over there.
That's interesting. That's okay. I would have had that coupon. I would have taken it home. Probably never touched it ever again. You should explain what InnovateX is like. Just give a
Yeah,
brief.
sure. So InnovateX is basically a social networking platform. I found out about a lot of problems that founders in general face, problems to connect with each other,
Mhm.
to find the right kind of people for certain collaborations. Especially founders also face problems to connect with VCs. VCs internally also, like are not able to reach out many a time. So there's like a whole relationship building problem within the whole community,
Mhm.
which apparently what I've seen is through LinkedIn, people just try to search, okay, maybe I want to find someone from Harvard, for
Yeah.
example. They'll search Harvard and then they'll scroll on to 200 people and then they'll face a restriction that you cannot scroll further.
Mm.
So those kind of things is when networking gets restricted and a lot of people do not, accept your connection requests. A lot of people do not want to, go ahead with your plans at certain point of time. So you are always like, in that position, okay, like I don't know who to connect with for this particular thing. And I definitely know that can be done.
Mm.
So then, that's like a whole networking problem. And even after you network, there's a relationship building problem.
Mm.
So that's what we are trying to solve through swipe-based networking, which is originally seen in a lot of dating apps.
Yeah.
And along with that, what we are trying to integrate is AI-based suggestions.
Mhm.
So you can just put in the AI, like, what kind of person do you want to meet? And the AI suggests you certain kind of people that you can meet, and then you can swipe on them through a very detailed interface.
Interesting. What was the journey like from the idea stage, right? And from that stage to coming to your first launch? How
Right.
did that come through?
So basically, InnovateX started in 2024, and when I got done with my 10th grade, essentially.
Mhm.
And that time, I was also working on my consultancy. I was working towards IIT Bombay, really understanding the ecosystem before I became a mentor.
Mhm.
And around that time, I had my co-founder with me. So he was the tech guy. I was the whole managing and operation person. So what happened during that time is we got our first grant from Germany, which was worth of 5 lakh Indian rupees. What happened during that time was pretty horrendous because he left with that particular amount of money. He did inside dealings with the grant guy, and so basically that is when I kind of faced my first downfall.
Mhm.
So
Wow, that was a big setback.
yeah.
And how did you get this grant?
So basically, there was this one guy on LinkedIn. He's a big M&A guy.
Okay.
So he gives out grants to young people to, manage their very minor operations and, kind of support them.
Keeping age in mind, the age factor in mind, what was a big setback?
So I feel it's not like a setback instead of the age perspective.
Mhm.
I think this is something that is very constant for anyone young building something.
Mhm.
That is, you always get underestimated,
Mhm.
but it's also very good
Mm.
at times, because you can
Prove
just
them wrong.
prove them that you are, you're not someone who you can, just maybe
Not take seriously.
yeah, not do that.
That's true.
Yeah, and then it just feels blessed at many a times because then you get to learn from the elders who've already done certain thing, and learn from their mistakes. You take their advice and you can work on a solution better than anyone else,
Mm.
because then you have that young mind where you can take risk
Mhm.
and you can really do the operations in a way that maybe middle-aged people cannot do because of the responsibilities and the bonds they are in.
Mm. What was it like managing your business along with academics?
So that's a funny question because basically I was this genius in 9th, 10th, got like 97% in 10th grade.
Yeah.
So I was like this whole person who's logged in with studies, logged in with everything I'm doing at that particular point of time.
Mhm.
And entrepreneurship was something that I formally entered as a registered company in my 11th grade. So that time I was very much into entrepreneurship. My teachers at times, they told me that Anya, you should be focusing on your studies, probably shut down your business. So yeah, I mean it was not, like me balancing out work and life. It was more about juggling priorities. Like, okay, if I'm launching a product, I should prioritize that over some stupid Monday test that I can probably prepare for later. The ultimate goal is getting good in your finals, right?
Yeah.
So that is what I kept in mind throughout the year. I feel I kind of left a good remark on, my whole profile in general, with academics being at a certain level of priority and definitely extracurriculars being at a priority.
I see. And what was it like proposing this idea initially to your parents?
So funny thing again, none of my family members are in business,
yeah.
right?
Entrepreneurship
So-
was new.
Yeah, exactly. And then I remember just like, sitting with my dad every time he would tell me ki Baiju's idea was something even I came up with. But at that time we didn't have the means and thing like that.
Mhm.
Typical dad talks basically.
Yeah.
So we would just sit and discuss about stock markets, about ideas, about the economy in general.
Mhm.
And he was pretty supportive. So he's like this proper girl dad, like, just pushing me to like, yeah, you can do this, you can do that. And my mom was also pretty much very supportive for me. So I came from that whole supportive background as my family in general.
Mhm.
And I always had this hunger in me to do something. So apparently it's like, coming from Delhi's small town in Delhi. And then my relatives telling me ki, oh, there's no son in the family. So you have to take care. How will you take care? You'll get married off. Okay, what will you do? Your parents will be just sitting there. And so, yeah, I mean, that is something I came up from. And then I had this whole hunger that, okay, maybe let's break our generational curse.
Yeah. No, I think what I understood was, dealing with parents, one thing is really necessary, that you need to show them that I can manage my academics myself.
Mhm.
It's that I know that academics is important. At the same time, all of the other extracurriculars, getting into a new line of business is important, right? So I think your boards helped you do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so coming back to the business line, India has recorded to have almost 2 lakh startups by now through official institutions. And amongst them, like last year, I was reading this article, around 12,000 startups closed last year in 2025 in India. And major chunk of it was due to financial lapse. So what do you understand of, maintaining, and how did you maintain your finance for the 0 to 1 stage you had? Knowing that you had this grant being taken away from you by your co-founder, how did you manage and came back from that setback?
So essentially, I'll tell you, there's like this whole myth
Mhm.
that you need a lot of money to begin with,
Mhm.
right? I'll give you a very breakdown analysis of how did I go through my whole phase. Initially, I knew that I needed capital to do anything.
Mhm.
And I found that leverage through consulting. So I did growth consulting for about a year,
Mhm.
worked with top businessmen in India. And that's how I also networked my way through IIT Bombay and became a mentor there.
Wow.
So I had this whole chunk of money with me lying idle for me to experiment around with. And then again, did get a bit of support from everyone around me in the ecosystem, founders recommending me to certain people, and me getting interns for no money at that point of time. And that was a huge thing.
Graduate interns?
Exactly. Like right now, the guy who's developing my web app, he's 40 years old
Oh,
from Brazil.
okay.
So that is very interesting, because at that point of time, these guys, they trust me at certain level. Like
Okay.
they'll know that I'll be doing something in the long term. I have a long term vision, and I can make it happen. So yeah, I think that is very important
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
industry.
Now entrepreneurship has become like a trend.
Mhm.
It's more of a trend. So कुछ भी नहीं है तो फिर co-founder डाल दो. So how
Right.
do you differentiate yourself as an altruistic founder rather than just being gimmicky in this era right now?
Right. So again, as you just quoted,
Hmm.
entrepreneurship has become a trend
Yeah.
in today's society.
Yeah.
So very easy thing to, crack that part again
Hmm.
is just execute.
Mm.
Like, what are you doing? Like, you're making, okay, if I'm making content about certain things, I'm gaining followers through that content.
Yeah.
If I do not have a product to monetize each follower that I'm getting,
Yeah.
it's not worth it. Like, what are you trying to honestly do? Get a brand collaboration with Adidas and like put another content out there? No, like that is not entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So
That's direct shots to me right now.
no, it's not in that manner. But again, I think visibility does play a part. But again, it's entrepreneurship is about monetizing that visibility. Content creation is about getting the visibility and getting money from that.
Mhm.
So you should really choose your niche as in what you want to get into. A lot of
Mhm.
people confuse this whole content creation and entrepreneurship part.
Mhm.
But this is the major difference, right?
Mhm.
If you're executing, if you're creating a platform through it, maybe trying to monetize each follower in a different perspective of a product perspective,
Mhm.
that is entrepreneurship.
Mhm.
So a lot of people these days they just talk like, okay, I am a founder, I'm a entrepreneur. They have that written in their bio.
Yeah.
What is your product? Is it live yet? No, we have a wait list. Oh, it's been 2 years, you have a wait list now. So that is another thing that I feel you should pretty much do. Like even I myself,
Mhm.
when I started LinkedIn, for me it was more of like content, but again I would be like launching a little bit of projects, doing certain consulting part, or going ahead with InnovateX and doing a lot of other things together, just trying to figure that out.
Mhm.
So I think that is pretty much very important when you talk about entrepreneurship. Only problem that everybody is potentially facing at the moment is a lot of distractions, because we are in that particular space that we have it all easy in certain perspective. Like AI is very easy, everybody can vibe code. But now the problem is how great can you become with vibe code?
Mhm.
Like how great of a products can you produce by vibe coding?
Mhm.
So again, that is something I think people should focus more on how they can polish themselves in an industry so great that even if a lot of investment bankers these days, they are in trouble that AI is going to come, quant is going to become very common, and AI is going to solve that. But essentially it's more about how do you adapt yourself in a way that you use AI to leverage your own thing.
Mhm.
So I think, yeah, it's all about playing the game of execution, working with it, and just having that particular hunger. Because now it's not the people who are unemployed and campus placement say they'll get some sort of job. It's more about, are you really hungry about it? Are you really curious about it? And how well do you want it? So that is what it's going to be about. So that is my only piece of perspective.
Yeah. Now, this stage led you to, I think, the IIT Bombay entrepreneurship cell. So, you explain me the journey from start. I didn't know about the competition you had done. So, what was the competition about in IIT Bombay?
So it was like I think something related to Eureka.
Okay.
So Eureka is like a competition that they have every year.
Mhm.
So I applied to that just out of curiosity.
Business and entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was just like you submit a pitch deck, they evaluate it, they you attend a couple of sessions with IIT Bombay guys.
Mhm.
It was their first year doing that. It was pretty mismanaged, and just the IIT students weren't able to manage it properly.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, they were like more than 2,000 people in the cohort.
Mhm.
And again, only if I think 30 to 40 people were selected for the finals. And we were sponsored a stay in IIT Bombay itself for 4 to 5 days in their hostel dorm. And yeah, that's essentially how I became a finalist, and I got to know about the ecosystem.
That would have been extremely inspiring, right? I mean, straight उधर से तो मतलब हो गया कि अब तो यही करना है.
I mean, yeah, IIT Bombay was definitely a big thing, because again, it was. I didn't even realize it when I got the email that okay, you've been shortlisted as a finalist. I really, it hit to me when I was sitting in the IIT Bombay classroom,
Yeah.
listening to the professor, and my mom was sitting right beside me, and she was more happy than I was.
मतलब ये सपने को चेस करते हुए लोग पागल हो जाते हैं.
Exactly. And then my mom was like, I never thought I'd even enter IIT Bombay's classroom and let alone sit there for a lecture.
Hmm.
So I think that's when it hit me that shit, I did something.
Yeah,
Like,
that was
Yeah.
the first turning point.
yeah, it kind of was, and then I think IIT Bombay continued from there, and
Hmm.
really I got an understanding of how.
And coming to the entrepreneurship cell now, you were the youngest mentor there. So, firstly, I would like to understand your role.
Mhm.
What did you exactly do there in the entrepreneurship cell? And what is entrepreneurship cell about? Even I don't know what is it exactly about. So, first you should explain that.
So essentially, entrepreneurship cell is something that every IIT and every other college these days have.
Okay.
But eCell in IIT Bombay is specifically curated for IIT Bombay's engineers and people who are studying there
Mhm.
to give them an exposure to the entrepreneurship world, to help them raise funds and establish businesses, basically.
Mhm.
So my particular role over there was again to help the engineers with their ideation part, with the MVP part, and then eventually raising funds and setting up a company.
Mhm.
So my particular role that I personally loved was helping prepare these engineering students to pitch to the VCs and raise funds.
Mhm.
Because again, building a MVP, once you build it, you realize, okay, this was the easiest part.
Mhm.
Now the part is when you sell it, when you try to raise funds,
Yeah.
and when you get the criticism for it.
Yeah.
So I really like that part, and
Mm.
that's where I helped all the engineering students in IIT Bombay. So I basically worked with around 50 people in general,
Mhm.
gave lectures and worked with them very closely to evaluate their pitch decks and gave them tricks to how to break into certain parts of VCs and how to really basically raise funds.
Mm.
So
Did it frighten you? Your age, you were much more younger than how old they are. So you're like 4 or 5 year older students, and you're
Yeah.
the teacher. Is it frightening?
so
for the
it
first time?
was intimidating, definitely. Like
And they're like the smartest minds in India.
they are
Yeah.
smartest, but again in entrepreneurship, everybody's a fool.
Yeah.
Everybody's stupid. Like
Yeah.
even I am learning from them, they are learning from me.
Yeah.
It's basically an exchange of thoughts. Especially when people take pedigree students from like IITs or even like from abroad, India, we take Stanford and all these big schools. So we think that they are smart,
Mhm.
smart as in street smart kind of people.
Mhm.
But essentially, they are also, some people who are again, working like machines,
Yeah.
thinking like machines, trying to solve calculus problems again. They are not, in that particular space where they're social,
Mhm.
where they're engaging, building networks. And as a founder, one thing you should know is be shameless.
Yeah. Be shameless.
Be shameless. They do not have this because again they are told to be the top student, the ideal student, and follow that particular route.
Yeah.
So again, it's a whole different thing to deal with these students and tell them that okay, no, your idea won't work, and it's hard for them to take it in because in their whole life they've been school toppers, cracked JEE, and done a
Yeah.
lot of big
A
things.
lot of hard work.
Yeah. So it's definitely
Socializing
another
is
thing.
something that they miss there.
Socializing and taking feedbacks in general, and I think there's a lot to it as well.
Are there any interesting stories or instances you had while you were teaching?
Sure. So, I mean, I remember this one girl. If I'm not wrong, her name was Shreya, I believe. So she wanted to do a startup in AI,
Okay.
and she is studying, I think, CS in IIT Bombay.
Mhm.
Pretty great course, right? At a pretty great institution.
Probably in AI.
So yeah, and you'd be like, okay, like this girl is supposed to be crazy.
Yeah. Life setter.
Exactly.
Mhm.
But then, first thing is, we get on a meeting. She obviously introduces herself like, I'm this AIR person, I'm done this, and now I'm going to do this.
Mm.
And then she expects that in the first year, she's going to crack that whole, category,
Mhm.
get a crazy ass MRR,
Mhm.
which is essentially something that Indian unicorns take time in.
Mhm.
Even though IIT Bombay people have a leverage of coming from that particular background and using that to raise funds.
Mhm.
But again, so we got on the call and she explained her idea to me.
Mhm.
And I was like, you do have competitors and a lot of competitors in this particular industry.
Mhm.
So I think it was something related to edutech and AI.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, there's a whole repetition of ideas in this industry.
Mhm.
What do you think you will be able to crack and what is your moat in this?
Mhm.
So again, we had a whole detailed conversation on that. And then we figured out one thing, that is she was not realistic about her approach.
Mhm.
She thought that this can happen. This is how it will happen. But she had no idea of execution because she's never done a thing like this before. One thing good about these guys is something I really appreciate is they are dedicated.
Yeah.
If they are not able to solve a calculus problem, they'll take 3 days for it, but they'll do it.
They'll do it.
They have that crazy level of execution power
Yeah.
that I think a lot of people miss out on.
Yeah.
If they're not able to crack it in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, they'll get onto it.
Mhm. I think there's a lot of saturation in the AI industry. Like lot of companies have started coming in the AI industry.
Right.
You should consider doing something related to AI, or you should just do AI.
So I have a very good answer for this essentially because I'm not a tech person, but I love AI. I love to get to the core of AI and its workings and what's happening in the industry. So I just heard Jensen Huang say this one particular line, who's the CEO of NVIDIA. Yeah, so he said this one thing, that is AI is something that everybody can do these days. It is very accessible to everyone. But again, one problem that humanity is going to face in the next coming 10 years, and that founders should work on right now, is solving problems with AI in sectors that are usually ignored. For example, take up insurance, or take up law firms, or take up finance. How can we innovate AI in a position that we can change the whole vision of that particular industry and make something great out of it? I think AI saturation has become a huge problem because it is happening for the same ideas, and only thing that is a differentiator is the execution part and how well it works out for a company. What AI should be, what people should be working out with in AI should be innovation in certain areas that is not being done probably, and try to figure out ways that they can, really implement AI in a lot of perspectives to help the humanity in general.
Okay. Thank you so much. And it was great having this podcast with you. A lot of learnings. We all have learned a lot today. By the way, you're 18 right now?
I'm 17. I'm going to turn 18.
Oh, you're my age. Now I feel really, really bad. So, I think time is evolving. A lot of things have changed. I think it's time for everybody to start adapting to this newer technology
Right.
and the newer wave.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.